Hello and welcome to Transformers the Show. Would I Lie to You special in aid of toys, figures and robots. We have two teams here today. We have Transformers the Show, which is Jamie, Alexis and Andy. And we have a special YouTuber all-star team, which is Arrowfyre, Rohan and Xortrider. So the two teams are going up against each other. If you've ever seen Would I Lie to You, you know the format. Each team will take turns to each say a story under a subject, which I will give them. One of them is telling the truth, two of them are lying, and the other team have to decide which one is telling the truth. If they get it right, they get the points. If they don't, then the other team will get the points. I am Paul, your host, and let's start. So, team captain. So, team captain for the Transformers the Show is Jamie. And who do we decide team captain for the YouTubers was going to be?
Ian.
Yeah, cool. So your team captains tonight. So for the YouTubers, it's going to be Ian.
I knew it was going to be Ian. Ian's a dark horse.
He is a dark horse, a sex horse. And then for the Transformers the Show, it's
I don't know why you say that.
It's Jamie. We've recorded this after our show, so we've been drinking for waiting for Alexis to turn up for about 4 hours. So off we go. Round one. So round one is all about our beloved Transformers Nation, the place where we all met each other, where magic happens. I want to ask the team of Jamie, you're the captain, so please, we want 3 of your most amazing, most funniest Transformer Nation stories.
Okay, TFN, not last year, but the year before. Last year was a bit of a blip yet, although my idea of the contamination suit didn't pay off. But anyway, we go to TFN and we do enjoy a drink. And the trouble with me was I got a little bit drunk, shot caller, I know, especially when you think about how hard it is to get alcohol at that bar. But yes, I did get absolutely paralytic. And I think at the end of the night, as Andy had already left to go to bed because he's a good lad, Paul was still staying at the bar. I decided I am going to wander off. I need to get home, back to Mayland. We're not home, it was a freaking hotel room. And that's where the dilemma started to happen, because I wasn't really sure where the hotel room was. It was the first night there and I was pissed at my skull. But I knew there was a lift to get to the hotel room. So I went to the lift and I pressed some button. I think it was, I can't actually remember if it was A, B or C, but I do know that I knew the right floor. And I do have a bit of a phobia about hotels because I always think of like freaking Shining and stuff like that. So I'm always thinking it's going to be like ghosts around. And I don't like ghosts, especially ghosts that look like Chinese girls with long hair, which is a bit unfortunate since I'm married to one. But, so I got a bit scared. I'm a bit drunk, but, I couldn't get lost in the lift. It was quite a square lift and I knew where I was. But when the door opened, it's like another universe, and I was scared. I was, thinking about seeing 2 fucking twins down the hallway. If I did, I was freaking running, and then I thought to myself, how am I going to get to my hotel room? Because I couldn't remember, and I could see all these doors, and I just started to think to myself, you know what, I've got a plan. And I was holding myself up, against the wall, which was actually getting harder and harder to do.
Or in Scotland, which is called walking.
Yes, And there was people passing, and obviously they must have been embarrassed for me, but I didn't really notice and stuff like that. But I'd hatched a plan. What I was going to do, instead of calling out for Maylin's name and screaming down the corridor to see if she was there, and I know I could have phoned her, but quite frankly, I was so drunk I couldn't work my phone. I decided what I was going to do was going to chap in all the doors. But I was going to use Morse code. That way, by banging in Morse code in the right way, Mayland would know it was me. And
I've got questions for you.
Oh my God, I hope this is the right answer.
I hope it is. I'm invested into it.
Lie.
See, there was a trouble here. Because it just dawned on me. Does Mayland know Morse code? Then I realised I don't know Morse code. So I thought, well, since we both don't know Morse code, I should go with plan B. And that was just to bang in the door and scream Mayland. which I did. Luckily enough, it was only 3 doors I had to do that to, and I found Maylin, who seemed to be quite embarrassed, and I couldn't understand why, because I was very polite when I was shouting Maylin. I was, Maylin, help me, I'm lost. My name's Jamie, but yep, so found Maylin. She dragged me to bed, for fun. No, actually, she just dragged me to bed, collapsed in a heap, and I woke up the next morning and joined Andy for breakfast. That is my TFN adventure.
Good story.
Yeah.
Wailing for Maylin.
For me, Alexis, go on. What's your story?
So my story,
best memory, funniest.
So I went to Auto Assembly before TF Nation. My first TF Nation that I went to, I wasn't planning to go to, and I ended up there. It was a friend of mine locally to me was planning to go, and because I wasn't going, I went out on the Friday night naturally as I do normally. Came back home at silly o'clock, and then woke up to a phone for the text message saying, "I'm going to TF Nation. Do you want to come with?" I was going, "No." I was going, well, go on, I'll drive. I'm thinking, oh shit. So I was like, all right, fine. I was like, okay, I'll drive. He goes, oh, can you pay for petrol? I'm thinking, oh, what the fuck? So anyway, pay petrol, and I had to get some hair. I said, fine, I'll pay petrol, but you have to stop off at a service station. I need fuel. So it was coming up to midday-ish, and I thought, okay, fine, I can get hair at the dock now. So I bought some beers. By the time I got there, I was pretty drunk, and then I spent the whole day at T-Nathan, as you do, in the bar, down all the conventions, did the whole day, and got a bit more drunk. And then it came to like the time where it's like evening time, time to go home sort of thing. And mate's going, "You want to come home?" Got lots of bottles, put them in his car. I said, "You know what? I'm going to stay. I'm having such a good time. I'm going to stay. I'm going to do the evening bit." He goes, "You haven't got to?" I said, "I'll be fine. I just they'll let me in. They know who I am." Gorgeous. Anyway, yeah, obviously. So didn't get in. Queued up for an hour after going to the hall to watch the gospel. And they said, "Have you got the wrong colour wristband?" Oh, yeah, but I said, "Yeah, but didn't work." So now I'm stuck in Birmingham, no lift, no way back home, and I was like, "Shit!" So I just sat. I did what most people do. Went onto Facebook, see what was going on around the area. Right. So turns out one of my mates was in the same building as us in the NEC, and there was a Magic the Gathering tournament. So I thought I'll chop over there. So on the Saturday, Friday night in London, Saturday in Transformers Convention. Saturday night I went to the Magic the Gathering tournament, went out with those lads. Sunday played in the all-day tournament, and then came back in the afternoon and got even more drunk on Sunday. And then Monday I felt really rotten. So I planned the next year.
So you're so drunk, you ended up in the Magic the Gathering tournament on the night.
Well, I
have to be drunk for that.
Paul, it's not for you to try and work out how much Alexis is lying.
I don't know, by the way. It's just really funny.
I did actually go to. I did that same year go to nationals, and I got top 200 in the country. So there you go.
And
were you drunk then, Alexis? Oh, wait, I don't know.
Yeah, he went to a Dolly Parton gig and ended up at Magic the Gathering.
No, because if again, as I think I mentioned on one of the shows, if you actually get like top. If you win those things, you actually get all expenses paid trips to like places like Hawaii and stuff like that. So I actually was on my game that day. This one, I didn't care. It's just a bit fun.
Detail. Right, Andy, what's your truth or lie?
Well, obviously it's the truth, but mine harks back to the same TFN that Jamie was talking about when I did leave early in 2019. And I did get back to the hotel room, relatively unscathed, didn't have to knock on anybody else's door. But something happened that I've never told publicly before in my life, but I'm going to tell it now. So I got back into the hotel room, and in the bathroom that we had, the ensuite bathroom that we had, the toilet was one of those ones that's attached to the wall rather than sitting on the floor. So it just goes straight into the back of the wall. So there's nothing underneath, if you know what I mean. So I think it was probably about 3 a.m. or something like that. I needed to go to the toilet, a few too many drinks, probably a bit of dodgy food, and
too many arches and lemonades,
too many sweet daiquiris.
I told this story before.
I went and I went to the toilet at 3 o'clock in the morning, and basically I managed to break the toilet when I sat on it. So I sat down and I heard a sound like a gunshot going off, and it was the toilet cracking and water starting to leak out. So basically we had to call down and we had to ask them at reception to send somebody to try and look at the toilet because water was leaking out of the bottom of it. and they had to move us. They had to move us to another room that they had, which thankfully they did have one room that was
I was
spare.
gonna say, thank God they did have one.
Yeah, well, that's it, because it could have been absolutely exact. Claire wasn't very happy. Claire wasn't very happy at all.
Understandably
But,
so.
But to be fair to the mates of this guy, he said it's the toilet rather than, you know, the fact that I was overweight or anything like that.
I said, this was
And I'm
back
sure
in
he
your
wasn't just being
300-pound
kind.
days.
I'm sure he just wasn't. He wasn't.
He
just
didn't
being
look at your
nice,
back end and
so,
go,
no.
You got a tip that night.
He may have looked at my back end and thought that, but that
Yeah.
probably was something different, Ian. That's probably a
Oh,
completely different story.
Oh.
But yeah, so I managed to break a toilet at TF.
Wow. Okay, 3
We've
stories.
all been there.
Now, team YouTubers, ask questions. Ask questions away. Who's lying? Who's telling the truth?
Okay. My first question then would be for Jamie. At what point did you think Morse code was going to be more coherent to your mind than a smartphone that you were probably quite familiar with at this point?
Well, to
'Cause-
be honest, the smartphone had run out of charge, and Maylin had been spending most of the day using a battery phone charger to charge it for me. But then she
So
disappeared early night.
it was a desperate attempt at a very specific type of communication. I imagine
Yeah,
carrier pigeons was not an option.
And it wasn't my nice Samsung phone then. I had a Sun phone and I had a dodgy power button as well. So it was freaking complicated to freaking use, especially when you're quite happily drunk, you know. Well, I was a bit miserable drunk because I couldn't find my way home and I was near to tears, but yeah, you know.
Where's my wife?
And I saw those flamingo dancer people coming past and I thought I need to open up and look. I'm deliberately leaning against this wall. It's not supporting me. No, it's not, but yeah.
You put on a thicker Scottish accent. Than
I
normal
tried
one.
to.
Connery
They,
came out.
they left you alone.
Oh,
All right,
right.
gentlemen, any questions for the witness?
I've got one for Andy. When you sat down on the toilet, were you halfway through when it cracked? So did you have to,
Do you want to know the
did you have to
truth, Rich?
pinch one off?
Was it a number
No,
one
no,
or number
Rich,
two?
do you want to know the truth?
Was it mid-flow?
It
Is what he wants to
wasn't
know.
a number 2, mate. It was just one of those lazy
Oh.
middle of the night peas. Where
No,
you
he
just
meant,
I'm
is
just
it-
gonna
were you
sit down
halfway
because
through
the
a
room
Was it
spinning.
midstream?
I've
got-
Oh, what time is this
I've
going out at again?
Oh,
you said-
6:30.
you said-
You've
Sorry.
got to treat yourself to a sit-down wee. Everyone's got to treat themselves to a sit-down wee occasionally.
Every now and again, a sit-down wee is a little bit of luxury that we all enjoy. Don't lie about it. You know it to be true.
I can't do
Yeah.
the one without the other, to be honest, when I'm sitting down. So there we are.
To last of the summer wine.
Incontinence is a problem in old age, isn't it, Rich? We're all there.
God.
We're all there with you, mate.
Right.
When I'm at home, I have to go for a week before I
Yes,
sit down
you are,
just in
Jamie.
case, on the sofa.
You're like the Gandalf of our group.
Couple more
Old and
questions.
wise and immortal.
And then I'm going to pitch you for a lie or a truth. Right. Couple more
That's
questions.
it. He sits down on the toilet and says, "You shall not pass." I'm trying.
Rohan, do you have any questions?
I have so many questions. Alexis, when you went to, did you say it was Auto Assembly or was it TF Nation?
Oh, no. So originally I went to Auto. So this is
That
my
was just a
first
flex.
TF Nation. This is just
That
my
was-
first
that was
TF
just
Nation.
a fake part. Yeah, that was
Just
just a
wanted you
fake
to know
part of the
he's-
story.
he
Yeah,
was there at the
That
start.
was it.
and you ended up not getting in. Who was your friend that you contacted to get into Magic the Gathering with?
You have no friends.
Exactly. Your friends are all here. That is it.
I haven't spoken to him in a long time. He's got out of the Transformer game, so I bought my Sovereign
Got
off
you,
him,
just-
and I bought a
I
couple of
can't
Diabots
remember
off him
his
as well.
name. This is the truth.
Was his name Gigawatt?
I hope he doesn't watch this.
John Smith.
Dawn.
I'll try and find. I'll try and find his name.
You don't
I can't
know his
remember
name.
Your Facebook
can't
friends to
remember
find his name.
I haven't spoken to him in a couple of
Right.
years. Seriously, he went off the grid. He stopped. He went out. He was like, "I'm out. I'm out."
What- what-
Which TF Nation was this?
What's
All
this
right,
actually
guys.
definition?
2017.
This collection's got 2 real.
2016, 17. I think it
Lie.
was 17. I'm pretty sure it was 17. I'm pretty sure it was 17.
Right, cool.
Pretty sure.
Any more questions, Rohan, or is that it for you?
I'm good. I do have a question for Jamie, if I may, very quickly.
Yeah.
How you mentioned you knocked on 3 people's doors before you got to Mail-In, or was 3 including Mail-In?
No, it's 3 doors.
3 doors. And did you actually
I
get
actually, to be
response?
honest
I
with
hope,
you-
I hope it wasn't the
honest with
first one was
I
made
don't
because
know-
he would have woken up 2 other people.
I don't know if she was the third door
Could be.
because she told me what I did. Because I didn't really remember too much after I got in the lift.
So you might have woken people up and pissed them off. and
I
gone-
remember the Morse code Eureka moment, and I thought that was quite clever.
You had to write that one down, yeah.
You know,
Okay. What are we thinking, gentlemen? Rich, what do you reckon first?
YouTubers.
I don't think Jamie's telling the truth because he said he was knocking the doors in Morse code, but then on the last door he was shouting for Mailing's name. So I think there's a little bit of a discrepancy there. So I don't think it's Jamie. I think Andy might be telling the truth. He looks like a guy who can break a toilet at 2 o'clock.
Broken a few in his career. Yeah.
From this angle, we can tell you've broken a couple of toilets.
You know it to be true, Ian. You know it to be true.
I think you might be on there now. Is that where you're sitting?
I've not started straining yet, Rich. You should be able to tell. Oh. Right.
Rohan, what's your view?
So I don't believe Jamie. I think there's too many discrepancies, like Rich said, with the phone as well. First it was he couldn't work it, and then actually it was off because it was no more power juice left, which actually makes more sense.
Actually, no, you couldn't work that phone. It was my Sony phone. It was crap. And I took
Don't
no,
backtrack
no,
now, don't
fingerprint,
backtrack.
no fingerprint unlocking, right?
No, it's the
Yeah.
power button. The power button. The clip had gone.
Oh, the web of lies
Push it
expands.
on, just to get it on. So it's just like
We've discredited you, Jamie. It's fine.
Go around. Andy, he's got an honest face, this man, but I think this story is actually from another time. He's broken the toilet, but just not at TF Nation.
It's an infamous TF Nation story, but
It
not
is.
of this year.
Yeah, exactly. I think Alexis is telling the truth, despite not remembering his friend's name is the kind of thing he would do. Remember his Transformers collection, not his name.
He did actually say, I picked up Sovereign, which is Fans Toys Galvatron, which he knows that straight away. I completely agree. I'm not buying Jamie's one whatsoever. As funny as it is, and you tell a good story, I don't buy it. I'm more inclined to believe Alexis, but not by much.
Happy with that.
Not
happy
by
to
much.
go with that.
Yeah, I would say Andy does have an on his face, and he does look like a man who would break a toilet and upset everyone, and probably turfed out a couple who are happily sitting in their room. You know, hope you feel bad.
we didn't kick another couple out of the room. Like an invasion.
I slightly played.
Get out.
We're going to say collectively, I think Alexis is the one telling the truth.
Right. Okay. So Transformers the show. Can the person who was telling the truth put both their hands in the air?
No.
Lying. Stop it.
Oh, they're all doing it.
Actually, my story's true, but it just didn't happen at TFN. It happened in Hull.
My story is true, but it also didn't
that's a
happen
day
at
in a life
TFN.
in Hull, isn't it?
So you were correct. The person who was telling the truth was Alexis, even though he forgot the name of his friend.
Richard. I looked it up. Richard. It's Richard.
Jamie,
He's me a good friend.
It's not
Shout
Richard.
out
It's
Richard.
not Xortrider, is it?
He's not my friend on
Good name.
Facebook anymore. He's off the grid.
Oh,
He's gone off the grid. He's like, look, I
gone off the grid.
my messenger. It was 2017, but he's just gone off the grid. He's just
It was
I
3
wonder
years
why. He's
ago.
probably heartbroken. You can't remember his name.
Yeah, exactly. He's got off the
Right,
grid.
okay.
shocking with names.
I've
I'm really good
forgotten
with faces. Those shit with names.
Yeah.
Well
very
done,
sharp.
guys. Well done.
So on to the YouTubers. Right now, you spin your web of lies or your yarn of truth. It is now time for you to tell us what was your funniest moment of TFN, Transformers Nation.
Transformers the Nation.
Why is that an extra team? Oh, I did that out, so I look normal. Cool. Go.
Who wants to go first?
Do you want to go first, Captain?
I can go first. So a couple of years ago now, this was 2019, yes, I saw Greg Berger at the bar at TF Nation, who was a guest there at the time, and he was having dinner at the bar. He was propped up on an end seat, and he had just finished doing one of his panels. So I walked up to him, and I started talking to him, and he's an absolute charming guy. He started talking about really engaging, lovely. Beverages by this point, and I chewed his ear off for so long that his dinner had turned cold whilst we were talking, and it was a fairly full plate. I felt instantly terrible as I could see the look of disappointment on his face, and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, let me buy you another dinner instantly just to make up for it," because I felt like I took the food off his plate. So yeah, so as we were sitting there, I bought Grimlock his dinner.
Very good. I like that one. Right, Rohan.
Right. I've never been to TF Nation, so my story comes from Auto Assembly. And
We can say I've never been to TF Nation, so my story comes from Lidl's when I went there a couple of weeks ago.
and I picked up so
The
many.
middle of
Transformers.
Lidl's.
It'll be
No,
like a
I've-
little.
I think my story comes from Auto Assembly 2008. It was not long after I'd left Hasbro, and I contacted the guys who ran Auto Assembly and said to them, look, I'm still in touch with Hasbro and would like to run a stand for you guys on behalf of Hasbro, represent Hasbro. So I got in touch with the guys. They said that'd be great, and Hasbro sent me some pretty cool exclusive competition prizes to go and showcase at the convention, despite not turning up themselves, the very weak-minded bastards. Anyway, so I got there.
You're over it.
Wait a minute.
Can you censor that?
Yeah, I'm not. So I'm there with my brother,
Rohan.
and we have these units out on display. And I remember there was a guy who came up to me and he said, how much are they? And I said, well, they're not for sale, because obviously, at these conventions, you have loads of people with their stalls out for sale. I said, I'm here on behalf of Hasbro, and we're just showcasing these bits. And he said, but I must have them. I'm going to give you X amount of money. And I said, well, you can't give me a load of money because I can't sell them. So what if I give you £1,000? And I said, and then he said, what if I give you some other things as well? And that's my funny story from Auto
It was
Assembly.
Alexis, wasn't it?
So I need to fund my Magic
Obvious.
the Gathering.
What was
Some
the
guy
other
called
things?
Richard.
Rohan, you know how I lack
Meant to be.
imagination.
I think his name's Richard.
Richard.
Will you be my friend? I've
I
lost
didn't
my other
sleep last
friends.
night. Someone was banging on my door asking for mating.
There was
In
a
Morse
guy
code.
next to me. There was a guy next to
Come
me
to TF
who was
Nation.
banging on in Morse code about the broken fucking toilet.
Well done.
It's just like
Can
someone
you fix
wailing
this
in the
wall-
halls.
Can you fix this water leak above my head?
I was like,
You hope it's
Is
water.
it raining?
I pray it's water.
I was like, acid rain.
That's the- I know it's a Transformers convention. I don't need acid storm.
Uh-huh. In jokes. Right, Richard,
Very good, Arnie.
your story,
Right.
please, sir.
That makes
Oh,
Richard's story more believable. Sorry.
That's all right. So mine is from, was it 2018 when Stan Bush played?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so mine's from 2018. It's basically, me and Tony Thrussell did a panel together, and we got a little bit drunk after that panel. And us being slightly more chubbier guys, we wanted something to eat. So I ordered one of the fish finger sandwiches from the bar, which were about 20 quid each. Yeah.
Bargain.
Anyway, we're sitting there for over an hour. Like Tony's being northern, talking to me about Patreon or whatever he's doing. And then basically this guy comes straight down and sits down. Within 2 minutes, he gets his fish and chips. So I go to the bar and go, what the hell's going on? That guy's over there's got food, and we've been waiting here for like over an hour. And the guy looked up and heard me, and it was Stan Bush.
Boom.
Yeah.
Did you chin him?
I still got his guitar on Nick.
His fish and chips.
We're
and
not
you just
worthy.
walked off.
Take the Jamie out of Glasgow. Right.
How
You chin-
dare
you chin-
you?
I was just going to say, you chinned him and he said, you've got a touch.
I bet you would have laughed. So,
Oh, yeah, never had that
Transformers the
before.
show. Ask your questions. Which one's lying? Ask your questions. Find out.
I'm a little bit rated, so I don't know. But
Ian,
I have questions. I have
a question.
questions.
Ian,
Yes.
what was Greg Berger eating? You said you bought him his meal, so what was he eating?
I think it was steak. It was steak. I do seem to remember there was a
You
large.
think it was steak or it was steak? It seems sketchy.
There was a
Almost like you're
large-
making it up as you go
There was a
along.
large slab of meat, so it could have been pork. It was
It could
steak.
have been a child,
size.
as far as you know.
I didn't. By this point, I had a bit to drink,
were
so I
buying
wasn't.
it.
I wasn't.
Why would you buy him a steak?
Because it's Grimlock. I'm going to buy whatever he wants. Sea bass. I'm buying him sea bass. But you know,
Did you buy?
So now it's
sorry,
sea
did you-
bass.
did
Was
you-
it sea bass or steak?
Wait then. Did you replace his meal like for like? He had a steak and you bought him a steak.
I just
again.
said to him, just whatever you want, just say
Why
and I'll
didn't you
buy
just
it.
tell him to eat the cold meal, this cheap
I
bastard?
couldn't do that. I'm only half Scottish. I'm not full
Greg Berger
Scottish.
The Dinobots always go fishing together.
Indeed.
Hey.
Okay.
And I just said like, you whatever you want, you order it, I'll buy it. And I was a bit twiddled by then.
What were you talking about that made it go cold? What was
Oh,
the
fucking
conversation
everything.
about?
I was talking about his panel that he just did. I talked about just
What was-
him and
Is here.
his hair. His Alexis.
Sometimes
He's
he
either-
goes still like that. He just likes to.
Yeah, he just likes
That's
to
an
stay
amazing
completely
pose,
still.
isn't it?
It's usually when there's a predator nearby.
It's a blessing.
I was going to say, can everyone hear that? Can everyone hear that?
In the show, we use this time to do our review.
And our taxis.
I've got a question for Richard.
Brilliant.
How
Go.
did you not recognise Stan Bush?
He was facing the other way. So there's those little cubes. Oh, he's back. He's gone. He's back.
He's back.
Back.
Oh,
Sorry, I'm back. I missed all that. Sorry.
Around the corner of the bar. So if you walk into the bar, there was like some stools, like lower tables, and he was sitting on one of them with his back turned to me. So I was, if the bar was here, he was sitting here, and we were sitting over here. So it was his back turned to me, and he was with a lady, which I'm guessing was his wife, who I saw. There's two of them.
And you didn't recognise his wife?
No.
Despite
Who's
your
his wife?
long-standing
Not from the back.
relationship.
What time
Oh, very
that's what my
suspect.
stalker
Bush.
fan are you?
Mrs. Bush.
What colour hair did his wife have?
Sally Bush.
I think it was blonde. I think. But I was drunk. I think it was blonde.
You mentioned, so everyone, Rich, what panel were you on? What was the subject of your panel?
Small YouTubers.
That bit's true, because I remember.
I was going to say that was true, though. We know that's true.
Yeah, of course.
we know Ian's at TFN and he's got an ability to.
Any
draw
questions for
people.
Rohan?
I have questions. I have questions. I have questions.
Let's
We
go
all
question
have
for
questions.
Rohan.
Go on, Jamie. Go on, Jamie.
Well, Rohan, when he said something else, was this a sexual thing?
If I'm completely honest with you, Jamie, I got a bit shy at that point and hid under the table.
I
probably
do that
helped.
when I
Did
get
he
a
ask you to
semi
do
as well.
that? That's the thing.
Some people like that kind of thing.
Because you were
Was that,
shy.
was that part one of the deal?
Zip.
No, honestly, he tried to
It sounds
bribe me
awful.
with some Transformers.
Do we
Basically,
need to contact the police?
All adults here have been in these
Hashtag me
situations.
too.
I seem
What
to
were the
remember him
units?
offering me like a G1 Overlord.
What were the units you
We're
were trying
looking
to
at the
get rid of?
G1
though?
Overlord, right?
That's worth considering.
Alexis, ask you a question.
What were the units you were trying to get rid of, though? What were the ones you were trying to, as a prize? What were they?
So the prize was it was a giveaway exclusive from Hasbro UK, and Transformers Animated had just been launched at that time. So we had these pretty cool resin statues from Transformers Animated. They were non-transforming figures in like I don't know how to describe it, in a box basically with like a scenery around it, and we only had 3 of them. There's Bulkhead, Bumblebee, and Prime. I think it was all Autobots. But yeah, they were really cool, and they were super big as well. Like I had to put them in my car, and I didn't have a very big car at the time. I remember lugging them around really heavy units.
Cool.
What car was it?
2008 Volkswagen Scirocco Mark II 16-valve GTI.
Nice.
What was the mileage?
120,000.
You
What's the
can't handle
services?
the truth.
What's the What's the
Who
Don't
was
service?
know the
your-
mileage.
Rohan, who
Yeah.
was your contact at TFN? At Autosum? Who did you speak to?
We're just
So
drilling him for facts.
Was it Richard?
Auto assembly.
forgotten
I
the
was gonna
guy's
say, I was
name.
gonna say, have people
Ah.
actually been
The
told to
trouble
us-
is- the trouble is-
Easy that.
Okay.
The trouble is that part of the story is true because Rohan was there with Auto assembly.
He was.
There.
Mm.
But
told
also,
us
We
I'm
don't
just,
before.
know the last half. I mean, I mean, my gut is it could be true
Go on,
for all
Jamie.
3 of them. You know, I think Rohan's story could be true, but I equally think it could be Richard's story could be true. You know, it sounds like one of those
I think
plausible things. What do you
Simon
think,
Plum was his
I think
name.
Ian's story, which will probably turn out to be the truth, but I'm just not buying it. Unlike him
No.
with Greg Berger's meal. Rohan's story. Rohan's told us about being at auto assembly and done that before,
But
and he's
he's
never mentioned this before, and that's a very
guy.
interesting part of the story. So I think Rich is telling the truth.
Alexis, what do you think?
I agree. I think Ian, if you can't remember one of the killer questions that you asked him or one of the killer answers, yeah.
Well, we were just chatting incessantly about everything.
And initially, when Rohan described them as units, he was quite vague, and now came to an epiphany of what they were. I don't know, but I think Rich didn't give enough away. Rich was trying to hold back a little bit.
Jamie?
Yeah, well, it's because Richard's. I mean, Ian's told that story. He told that to the first time we were on Zoom, but I don't remember the meal part. But I think he said he bought him something, and I don't know if that was just drinks.
Ooh.
You know, so if he has went in. I don't know if he's just changed the story or if he's changed the character slightly, because I can't remember if it's a Grimlock guy, but I think it was that, because that was the guy who was given the gift.
Greg Berger,
I'll go with you guys. So if you all think it's Ian,
Well, you're the team captain, so
no,
You decide.
and Andy and Alexis, do you think it's Ian?
no, they think it's
No, we both said we thought it was Rich, but then you just shot us down by telling us
So
that
you
told
You
us.
decide, Jay. You
You
decide.
as captain, you can decide to
No, the
override
captain,
or
you
you can
decide.
go with your
Don't forget
your
me.
pick.
I'll go with my team players then, and I'll go with Richard.
right. So, can the member of the YouTubers put their hands up if they were telling the truth? Oh, Rohan, yes,
Nobody saw that coming.
done. So that's round 1 of 3, and at the end of round 1, we end up with the YouTubers have 2 points, and the Transformers show have no points. Lads,
I think it's 2.
Because they get points for fooling us.
it's cool that I explained all the rules.
And we
to
weren't
you
we weren't 5 minutes late as well.
before the show. You just ignore.
It's almost like he wasn't listening.
Or here.
Right.
Possible.
On,
No, I just forgot it was a point for each. I was like, one round.
yeah.
Yeah.
One's one, isn't it? So on to round 2, and round 2 is all about the schools that we went to, the School of Hard Knocks, the School of Life. So I want to hear your funniest story, the most humorous story of when you were at school, and I would like to take Transformers the show. You go first. Jamie, select your person to lead the charge.
I would like to select Alexis for this to go first.
Go.
Okay. So I went
to get this person's name as well. Like, my best friend at school. I
Oh,
can't remember his name. I'll get Facebook out. Dave. It was Dave. Sorry, go.
Don't slow down anymore.
Fine. So I went to an all boys school down the road from where Rohan lives. You might know it.
Would you choose
Yep.
to be the princess?
And no. And there was a, because it was an old grammar school, there was like an old girls' school, which isn't too far from Rohan either. And what people didn't realise is on lunchtimes, because it wasn't too far. You could go between what's called the gully in Maidenhead, and just gave it away where it is now. And you can meet on these two schools. And lunchtimes on a certain day, the girls used to come over to our school. We never used to be able to get out because we had big gates, but they could get out for some whatever reason. Maybe they're just braver than us, and come to our gates. And I used to go to little parties with my mates, kissing parties with the girls. And one time we got caught by the teachers, and we were doing a bit more than kissing.
You are recording this, aren't you, Jamie?
Yeah, I'm getting quite excited, Alexis. Don't stop there.
Hand
So,
over.
Here, penthouse.
And it, I will say one thing. The interesting thing, right, is that our parents didn't get told.
So
Until now.
if this is
Oh,
your
yeah. I don't watch this shit.
true,
Now-
it's basically you got to kiss girls at school. If it's your lie though, and it's proven
That's
to
a
be
lie.
wrong, then you never kiss girls at school.
It's what he wanted to
I
have.
just said I went to a little boys' school, so why do I want to kiss
Boys.
boys? at school?
Okay, so if it's a lie, it means you
Lie.
did it. It means you
Where
did
are
it
you
with the
going with this?
boys.
What?
Is that if it's a lie? Then it means you did it with
Sometimes
the
it
boys.
takes a real man to
How's
kiss another
that? How's that
Hey,
work?
Well, I'm thinking the
If
truth
two-
or lie elements.
It can be a lonely
That's
life
boys.
sometimes.
I've been
Ian.
to
Don't judge.
school.
Don't judge.
Then we
This
were
is
Live in a
what-
modern world.
boys' school grammar.
I don't like
bros,
this. I don't like this round.
You could have been trained.
Because I do this. I don't like this round.
Right, Andy.
You can't ask questions to the end.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
Avoid that
on.
question.
Andy,
I really
task
want to
master
hear
about
about
your
Alexis's
kissing
story,
clubs.
but anyway. So my story has nothing to do with kissing, thankfully, and it's not actually about.
actually said kissing club.
Oh, thank God for that. But it's got nothing to do with that. And I'm not actually going to tell a story from my time in school as a child, but actually from teaching, because I'm a teacher by trade. And one time I showed, we used to get these educational videos, like you use them as clips that you showed the kids, and then the kids would write about what they watched, and they'd use it as a stimulus, basically. And one time I showed my class a video, one of these videos at the end of the day that I hadn't checked properly. And unfortunately, there was some swearing in it. And so all my class left at the end of that day. It was right at the end of the day. I'm told all the parents that I'd just shown a video with swearing in it to them. And it was quite possibly one of the most terrifying and embarrassing moments of my teaching career. Yeah. And I remember running to my head teacher afterwards to say, I'm really sorry, I've shown this video. And she just laughed and said, don't worry about it. Worse things have happened in school.
Like kissing clubs.
Yeah, like kissing clubs. I mean, yeah, it was happening at Alexis's school. Jesus.
He said, like, yeah, you should hear what's going on down in Maidenhead.
Somebody call Project U-Tree or whatever it's called.
And do they not show Alien versus Predator anymore in Yorkshire? Is that banned?
No, it's ridiculous. Actually, it was Requiem. But, you know, it's amazing. Like, nowadays, you have to get written permission for this kind of stuff.
Oh.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, dear.
Oh, right. Okay. So
Mad.
that leaves Jamie.
Okay, so my story is also about my teacher, being a teacher at school. And basically, you know, this is in Hull. And we're teaching in East Riding, but we're living in Hull, cheaper accommodation. We'll put into teachers' residence. This is where you share a flat with other teachers and have a communal eating area. If you want, you actually had your own kitchen inside your flat. We stayed in Victoria Docks. Now, this is my first time being away from Scotland and also being in another country and also having my new flat. So I bought like a lot of stuff in August and I spent the whole night putting furniture together, you know, and basically about 9 o'clock, there was this banging on my door and I opened it and there was this old man, you know, quite tall old man, very grumpy, going, what are you doing putting furniture on it this time? And I was thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, you know, this is meant to be a young teacher's residence. Where the hell did they get this like cops from? And turns out he was visiting his daughter. He was a retired police officer. So, but he was still really annoyed with me. Anyhow, fast forward to the morning, I'm going down to the bins to rip up all the cardboard, you know, and place it in the bin. So I'm in there in this sort of like bin area, which is, you know, you got like the door in, and I guess is like a shutter bit there that the bin men must use to get in. But basically it felt quite enclosed. So I'm in there ripping up the cardboard boxes to place into the bins because you're not allowed to use other bins. So I was trying to be very diligent. And it was very hot and it was summer and I had my phone in my socks because I had no pockets in my shorts, you know, the t-shirt. And basically I'm tearing up these boxes and basically the door burst open and there was a man from last night holding a huge knife. And at the same time, my phone started to ring. And this is my prop. And this is what I had as my ringtone. So I'm looking at him holding this knife and this music's playing. And it's in my sock pocket, but I was frozen with fear looking at him. And he's looking at me and I'm looking at back at him. And he started looking around as if to where the music is coming from. But I didn't want to answer my phone because I'm just looking at his knife, you know, and I was pretty terrified. And then he just said, I'm here to help you rip up the boxes. And I was, oh my God. So I was just like so relieved, you know, and I was like, Christ, because I thought this is it. I'm going to die. I'm going to be killed by some homicidal maniac.
So what's that running down my leg? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't go that far. I'm Scottish. We do see knives quite a lot there.
Right. So that's your 3 stories. YouTubers, what do you think is worth a question or 2?
Alexis.
Of course.
Of course. So these meetups, were they infamous in the school? Were they somewhat regular? Were they bits of fable tale? Were they something that would be a thing that would be going on? I'm saying, like, would the other teachers really not know about it?
So obviously being quite, you know, a senior school, there's 7, 8 years of school, and there was a sixth form as well, and we used to play across the bottom end of the field, and you had top end of the field, and again different areas based on your age group. You used to play at one end of the school or the other end of the school, and we were in the upper age group, and then we had basically the upper part of the school, all the tennis courts in the summer they used to open the rugby field as well, but then we also had the hockey pitch, like an all-weather pitch. And it was at the end of the weather pitch was where the gate was, and that's where so we used to go cross country running around Larchfield and back round and come back in through the front of the school. But that's where it was going on. So as you can appreciate, it's probably a teacher didn't really walk to the far end.
It wasn't really policed.
No, okay, yes, so that's what I should have just said. Yeah, it wasn't really policed.
It's all right. I cut to the chase there. Thank you.
Classic Alexis.
I've got a question for Alexis, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Did you ever think about introducing Magic the Gathering to these meetings?
So I only got into Magic the Gathering about 7 years ago when I wanted to do something which kept me in on a Friday night. So they do Friday night Magic tournaments. So I used to go down to Bracknell and play that with the lads instead of going uptown. So that was my Friday night. Instead of doing that, it kept me in, saved me some money.
So that's a no, Rich.
It's an Alexis show.
That's where your skill went wrong, Rich. Started Magic Gathering too young, missed it, Nicholson.
If I may have another question this time for Andy. What was the video in question?
It was like a cartoon video.
We're swearing in it.
Yeah, we're swearing in it. Because all the video clips were based around cartoon type stuff. They weren't like live action type things. They were only short as well. Each one of them was only a couple of minutes long.
It's been a long time since I watched Hey Arnold.
Oh,
I was going to say it's Transformers the movie, the British version.
Yes.
I couldn't possibly comment on that, but it was a short clip that I showed, and I just didn't check it properly. And that's the thing, isn't it? You know, when you're teaching, if you don't check something properly, then
I always did.
Andy,
I did try to check it. I did try to check it. You know, I would have listened to it earlier in the day, but I would have used headphones just in case. But for whatever reason, you know, I must have missed it.
What was the lesson you were teaching, Andy?
What was the lesson? It wasn't a lesson. It was at the very end of the day. Yeah. Because my kids love to like watch little video clips. I used to show them like horrible history stuff and, you know, funny video clips that I could find on YouTube that were at that point safe. And it was just a little video clip that I played right at the end of the day before they went home.
What age group was it?
At that time, I would have been teaching year 5. So that's
they're piling on
9 to 10.
And you didn't have any complaints from parents?
No complaints I can remember about.
Okay.
But then again, I did used to teach in Leeds. Big love to Leeds posse.
Question for Jamie. So this guy who comes knocking on your door in the middle of the night, he's an ex-copper.
A bit 9 o'clock, not middle of the night.
Oh, well, okay. He was basically saying it was too late in the evening to be making furniture. Yeah, if he's an ex-policeman, surely he's been to his fair share of late night calls. Building furniture doesn't seem too unrealistic.
Well, he was visiting his daughter because apparently, he was oversharing, he was suffering from stress. And we had, remember, these are flats that were Victoria dog flats, so they're quite, although they're nice and pretty and new, and like a posh area of Hull, they're quite cheaply made quite quickly. And you've got wooden floors, you know, you've got no fucking carpets, which is a fucking stupid design build. And I was the second floor up, because when I go into flats, I always like the second floor. That way the poor bastard beneath you heats you up. You need to switch your heating on. And the person above you heats you as well. So it's fucking fantastic. You can have cheap electrical heating bills all year.
You truly are Scottish.
I was going to say Scottish power through and through, isn't it?
Right, YouTubers, one more question.
Jamie, I just have one question for you.
Yeah.
Describe the knife.
That's gone dark quick, hasn't
To
it?
be honest,
Just wants to be
interview.
turned on.
it just looks like a
Describe the
Gen
knife.
8 to me. It looked like a fucking kitchen knife, you know, big black huge handle, but it was a fucking sharp blade. It was the fact that the door burst open. There's a guy there standing, a guy who said he was having stress problems, who was angry with me the night before, holding a fucking knife. That was enough to terrify me.
And it was just, and I mean, he happened to be wearing his hockey mask as well. I mean, you know.
And that terrifying music.
Right.
I think we already know the music was
Mission
impossible.
Impossible.
Jamie
His
played
name
it.
was Tom.
That was
Yeah.
my mum or me, Lynn, phoning me. So that was just my ringtone at the time. I just thought it was hilarious to happen
So,
in that moment.
Richard, Xortrider, who are you thinking?
I don't think it's Andy. I think he's telling a lie. He mentioned the name of the film he put on when he was first doing his description, and then he was saying it was small animated clips. So I think he's lying. I don't think anyone who's ever played Magic the Gathering would have been from a background where they've been in any kind of kissing club whatsoever. So I think Alexis is like, I think it's Jamie looks like the kind of guy who put his phone in his sock.
To be honest, there's worse things to put in your sock than a phone.
True.
And there's worse places to put your phone as well.
Rohan, how are you feeling about this? Do you
This is
agree?
a tough one. I mean, Alexis is out. I mean, what kind of boys can't get through a bloody gate, but the girls can get through it? It doesn't
There's
make
a thing
any
called a
sense.
kissing club.
It's a design flaw.
You come into
You're
kissing
out.
club tonight, yeah, I'll be there at 6.
And it's an
Doesn't sound
open
rapey
field
at all.
and the teachers can't see you. What? Okay, whatever. Yeah, you're gone. Okay. Andy and Jamie. Jamie's story is so detailed. It's got everything. It's got suspense. It's got everything you'd expect in a movie. I'm leaning towards Andy on this one.
Cool. Ian, it's your choice.
I don't believe Andy for 1 second. I'm just not buying
On his
it.
face. On
No,
his
but
face.
You have a lovely face. I'm not doubting your
Well,
face.
what bit is it?
Lovely.
If you don't
I'll
believe
take
it, tell
lovely.
me.
I think I disagree with Rich. There's a lot of inconsistencies in the story. Very vague for someone who would be calling upon teaching knowledge. I mean, if you got me on my chosen subject, I'd be dragging information out left, right, and centre. But that was very vague for someone in the trade, I felt. Alexis is one. I think Rich just kind of discredited for me there with the Magic the Gathering. But the thing is with Jamie, he can put a lot of detail in most of his conversations, and whether he's talking bollocks or otherwise, he just has detail content, and it's like, but there is. The thing is, I want it to be true because I think as well that'd be a funny as fuck moment to have Mission Impossible going off in your phone while someone's holding a knife at you. Guys, I think I'm siding more towards Jamie. What is the consensus? Can we have consensus?
Yeah, go for
I
it.
think it's Jamie. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to say Jamie.
Right, okay. Transformers the show. Would you put up your hands if you were telling the truth? Right,
Oh,
Yo.
what?
who's telling
Go
the
on.
truth?
Who? What is one of you?
No one likes a slow roller. Anyone who hates
I
a slow
knew it.
roller in life is awful. Right, Andy, what's
Yes.
the truth on that
I
one?
knew it.
It was me telling the truth,
You
yes.
actually told me that was very vague.
And I didn't actually mention the name of the video. Or
I
I,
don't think you
deliberately
did.
strayed away
You
from
did.
mentioning the name of the video. I said it was I was showing a clip or something like that. But yeah, it was a
Must have
short clip.
misheard.
Don't
and it was
tell
a
them, you
clip-
cunning bastard. We've still got another round.
Obviously,
And in my-
Right, guys, make
yes,
notes. Make notes.
But this is the wonderful thing about this game.
Okay, so it's now the turn of the YouTubers to spin a yarn about their school days. What's the funniest story you guys have about your school years? Let's start. Ian, who would you like to go first, Captain?
I will nominate Rohan this time.
Rohan.
Rohan.
Thank you.
Rohan.
So my story pertains back to when I was at grammar school, year 10 or 11, I can't remember exactly, but basically it was a grammar school that was an hour and a half away from my house by bus. So we took this huge bus ride to and from school. I remember one day we were coming back from school and a bunch of us were along the back bench of the bus having a pushing match, and one of us was on one end with his feet up on the window, pushing as hard as he could to try and win this pushing match. And as we were going around the corner, the window fell out of the bus and smashed on the A4 outside London. And yeah, that was the funniest story that ever happened to me relating to school.
Good story. Another grammar school bro as well. And yeah, my journey was an hour and a half as well. Ian, who's next?
I'll go next. So in year 11, we did like a end of year awards. There was like a big ceremony thing come the end of the year where we'd all gather and basically an excuse for the head of year to give us a little discussion. And we did a little award ceremony, and it was, basically a marching parade and things like that to get people up. And one year I was voted most likely to try and sneak out of the Great Hall during exams by any means possible.
Ooh, you rogue.
Mm.
Right. Richard.
So Rich.
Okay. Okay. Back when I was in my boys' private school, these girls kept creeping in towards kissing club. No, I'm joking. So
I had a mouthful of beer because I wish you hadn't.
Okay, I was in year 8, and there was 4 forms in our year, and we were all going on. Each form were going to a different location to do with recycling. So to cut a very long story short, some people went to a plastic recycling plant. Some people went to a aluminium recycling plant and got given new pencil cases and tins and all that kind of stuff. And I think the other form went to a wood reclaim yard to see them like build, like turning old pieces of wood and furniture into new things. And we got on our minibus really excited. It's going to be a surprise. What are all these things? And the minibus started to smell a little bit of shit, to be honest. We all started to look at each other. Have you farted? Oh, I have farted. Anyway, we noticed where we pull up at 7 Trent Sewerage Farm. And we're gone to see how water is recycled. And literally there was these big vats churning of just shit everywhere. And there was like even loggers on the ground, on the grass next to these things, just like chilling there. God knows how they got there, if they flew out or whatever. And we had to spend the entire day in a sewage plant.
Nice. Right. Great stories. I'm glad I had my childhood. Right. Transformers the show. Questions. What do you think? Jamie, you're on mute.
James,
I'm just saying, Ian's story's telling the truth. I don't want Richard's story to be true at all.
It could easily be true, trust me.
If it is true, we need to destroy it by fire. I don't care.
Don't light a match, mate.
Yeah. Andy, you ask a question.
I was still formulating my questions, but all right. It would not so much a specific question, but I noticed that obviously Rohan and Ian didn't give a lot of detail about their stories. So, Ian, can you expand a little bit on the story? But I'm asking the question.
Touche.
Well, would you want me to expand?
Yeah, a little bit.
No. You can't just say expand on the story. You have to ask a specific question.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So you've got to ask me a question.
What were one of the other awards that you felt were? What do you remember from the other awards?
So the awards were just generally like best head girl, because it wasn't head girl. We had prefects in my school, and they just basically had little badges, and it was an elite group. Not like I'm bitter, but I applied and didn't get in. And people got like it was best prefect, and there was a head girl and a head boy. I don't think they had an award for what I can remember of that one, but it was things like best prefect, most consistent grades. There was the wooden spoon award, if you like, which wasn't mine. It was another one, and it was most missed attendances. And of course, the joke was it was like you always get a kid who never turns up for school, and they say, "And this is the award for most missed attendances." And of course, they're not here. So
everyone got one. Everyone got one.
It was a bit like let's give everybody an award, and my award was most likely to try and get out of during an exam.
Why?
My question is then, what
Why
is your
what?
best friend? What did your go on, Jay?
Well, I was just
That
asking
kind of
why
makes
you
sense
tried
to
to
me
get out of an
because
exam.
he's a music type, isn't he? He's a musician. You know, so when it comes to
I am.
education, you know,
Yeah, I
I
know
would have
fuck all,
thought,
yeah.
you know, when it comes to education, you know, reading books and stuff, not exactly a musician's greatest, you know, forte or ability there. So,
I love
however,
I love it.
I have lost a science argument to a musician, you know, a music teacher. So fuck them. You know, there can be dark horses. They can't be
Again,
very.
apologies
gonna
for
get
all
into-
this awfulness before the watershed, but
So I think he's.
at least you know what the show's about.
I think Ian's telling the truth. I honestly do. I don't want Richard's story to be true, especially when you go, because normally when you go to these recycling plants as a teacher, you bring something for them to recycle, and I just can't imagine all these kids going to the back, just you know.
But everyone
giving
could
their-
bring something with them.
Yes.
Whereabouts was it?
inclusive.
Sorry, Richard.
It was Severn Trent.
Where's that?
recycling plant.
You said that's Severn Trent Recycle.
Yeah, so it's around this region. So we've got my water here is supplied by South Staff's water, but my sewage is done by Severn Trent, and it's Severn Trent to a bigger region. So yeah,
I just don't want that story to be true.
Andy, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking, yeah, I think I'm leaning towards it in the story.
I think it's Ian.
I still have questions. I have
Lexus,
two
go on.
questions.
Lexus still has questions.
I have one
So let's hear
question
them.
for each. Okay, so Ian.
No, that wasn't a question each. There
No,
was one question. Last
Ian.
question.
No, one question each. I'm
No,
not
no,
asking
don't,
Brian
don't
questions.
shake your don't Paxman me with your pen.
Didn't
Shake
ask
your
the
pen,
question.
doing a Jeremy Paxman.
No.
One question. That's
You're the
it.
host,
One
Paul. Get a
question
grip of the
each.
show.
Very quick question. Very
Nobody's
quick.
asked Rohan a
Last
question.
question.
I'm going to ask you, Ian.
I'll put you in the
what was
waiting
your
room.
best-
I will do it. One question.
Ian, what was your best friend's award?
My best friends award.
What did he get? If everyone got an award, what did your best friend get? Your bestie.
I don't know if everyone got an award. You think a year?
That's fine. That's
You
fine.
think
Never
it,
mind.
it
No,
Never
was,
mind.
that's
it
not
was,
a question.
it was a
I'm
majority
ready
of
to
the year,
put
but you
you-
think how many people were in the year group?
I
That's
think
like
it's
what,
fine.
90 or
Andy's
something
got a
like
question.
that?
Andy's
Can you
got a
tell?
question.
I was being really
Andy's
subtle
got a
about it.
question.
I'm giving my question to Andy because I'm not asked the
Oh,
question.
thank you. I hope this is a good question then. Rohan, what was the name of your friend who kicked the window out of the bus?
Well, there were 5 of them across the back, and
Well, there was only one of them you said that had his feet up against the window.
Yeah.
So surely you remember his name.
It
Surely
is-
you do.
his name.
They
his
won't
name-
remember their
maneuver.
friend's name.
His name was Amit.
Wow, that sounds really made up on the spot.
That was his name. What can I do? I don't remember. I think his last
Not
name
the
was.
name. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's not people called Amit. I'm just saying the way you just looked up.
You could have said Schwarzenegger.
Amit. His name was Amit Birdie, and he lived about 10 minutes away from me in Hounslow.
Right, I need some answers. So,
It's
that's almost the show.
Ian.
Right, Jamie, you
Ian's
think it's
still
Ian?
I'm going to go with Captain Ian as well.
You're going to be
I
Ian.
reckon
Alexis, who are you
it's
thinking?
Rich. I reckon it's Rich. But
Right, it's
yeah,
up to
you
the
guys.
captain. Jamie, you decide.
Ian.
Ian, right. So, YouTubers, who was telling the truth? Put both your hands up, please.
I hate you.
Oh,
I just want your story to be true because
You know what? It was the fact that there was so much detail in Rich's story, and I thought, no, he put too much detail in there. He's got out far too much. That can't be true.
right. So the final round is all about the place where we can't go. It's holidays, isn't it? So I want to hear the funniest holiday stories you have. Let's go straight to your team, Ian. Dictate the holidays and Transformers the show. Which one's a line? Go. Who do you want to go first? Ian?
I'll nominate Rich to go first this time.
Richard.
Okay, so this was on my stag do back in 2013,
Lads.
and I went to Benidorm. And basically, I had a really bad couple of days. We went there for 3 nights, and on the second, I think it was the second night, I'd had the 2 nights, and we'd had a heavy night. So then the last night, we decided I'm going to go back early. All the other lads stayed out, but I decided, you know what, I need to have a clear head to get on the plane in the morning. I've drank far too much. So what I did, I went to sleep, happy days, fine. My mate Carl came in about, 6 hours after me, and got into bed, thought nothing of it. I got up in the morning and I went for a piss and the toilet was overflowing. So basically, I went back in and went, Carl, what are you doing, mate? He went, oh, I think I blocked the toilet like when I come in last night. So he rings up reception. Reception come upstairs to have a look at it. And then basically Carl's still asleep. So I open the door and now I'm the face of this blocked toilet. Not Carl, he's asleep. So I'm the face of it trying to explain to this foreign lady what had happened. And basically they go, was there a towel in the toilet? And basically what Carl had done, he'd come in and I don't know if he wanted a bit of luxury or what, but he wiped his arse on the towel and threw it in the toilet. And then I had to be the face of that. And basically they gave me a black bag and told me to sort out the toilet. And Carl got away with it scot-free. That was it.
Awful.
Horrible.
That's two shit stories in a row.
Yes. Okay, so I'll go next. So a few years ago now, quite a few years ago, I went on a lads' long weekend to Barcelona, bit of city break. And we would go out drinking. And on the first night, we went out and we drank everything, and we drank far, far too much. We always do go to Hard Panther on the first night. And we, drank a skinful, came in at God knows what time. It's probably the only time I woke up the next day, got myself in an upright position. I thought, that was good. And things span to such a degree, I just went, nope. And back I went, straight into bed. It was in a bad state. But I got myself together and we went out. 3 of the 4 of us made it out on the till. And it was a very hot day in Barcelona, very sun beaming down on you. And I was doing okay, but then I wasn't feeling too good. And I was like, I'm going to be sick. I know I'm going to be sick. And there were no bins in Barcelona anywhere. There was just not one bin. And we went into like a tourist shop of some weird description. And I was like, I felt myself getting warm. I was like, I've got to go outside. And whatever's going to be around this corner is going to be my bin. And there was the one bin in Barcelona. So I christened the bin. Got it all up. As I emerged, 3 nuns stared at me with a very disapproving look. And as I was wrenching my head up, sick, probably still dripping down, and I had no words. I was certainly in no state to communicate to 3 horrified-looking nuns, and I was escorted home.
Right, that's awful.
So,
Rohan.
Right, my holiday adventure was out in the States. I was out there. Technically, it was for a work trip, but I count it as a holiday because we had like a weekend in between where we went out and we could do whatever we wanted. So we were out there for 2 weeks, and the first week was training. Weekend we could do what we want. Then the next week was training, and I remember it was 4 of us had gone out from the UK. We were doing technical training the second week and sales training the first week. So all the salespeople with us for the first week, and the technical people stayed on for the second week, but the salespeople stayed on for the weekend because that's the best part, right? So I was driving everybody, because I always am, because I'm the sober one, and I drove us all up down to San Fran, to the actual main downtown San Fran. And a couple of my friends wanted to come with, and so I took them with. But after I took them there, I said, look, I'm gonna leave you guys here. And they're like, why? And I said, I'm actually going to drive across 2 more borders to go and try and find Transformers at random Walmarts and Targets. And they just looked at me with such disgust. And I just left them there and just went.
Transformers.
If anyone was wondering about going on holiday with Rohan, probably not.
So,
Right.
Ian.
Questions, Jamie.
Ian, why, I mean, I know the answer to this, but why did Barcelona have so few bins?
If only I knew, I would direct you to the city council. I'm afraid, but I don't know. But there just seemed to be.
Did you ask?
It was. Well, my Spanish is not great at the best of times.
Don't worry, they can speak English. It's okay.
It was enough to be noticeable, because I felt as I was going round and getting steadily worse, I was like, "There's no bins, and it was like I was looking for exits, if you know what I mean. And I was, there were just no bins, nothing. I was even looking for like Paladin bins, big bins, lids. I was getting desperate.
Why a bin? Why not just a gutter or an alleyway? Or,
I'm a classy human
Yeah.
being.
Oh yeah, okay.
I'm a classy
What?
human being.
Okay, so what were you drinking then that made you so ill?
Well, it's mostly lager, and lager doesn't do well with me. And then it was wine, and then it was mojitos after that, and that was the thing that I don't mix well generally at the best time. That's why I tend to stick to one drink, and I'm fine with that. But it was the first night, lads on tour, drink anything in sight.
Andy, have you got a question?
The more drunk you get, you turn into mojitos, please.
Yes, it was.
Lads on tour. Mojitos.
Would never get that in
You
Sainsbury's.
do apple teenies. Right, cool.
All right, host.
I've had 6 Stellas.
Okay.
Right.
I was just
good.
going to ask Ian. So you're telling us at that moment that what time of night was this?
This was in the day. This was about.
During the daytime.
This was about
daytime drinking.
No, well, no. So this was the morning after where the returning of said fluids took place.
Ah, right, of course.
So we'd been out the night before and stayed out to God knows whatever, went to bed, woke up in the
And
morning.
you managed to time it so you did this in front of some nuns.
It was a. I wouldn't say I timed it.
A monastery? No, a nunnery.
I didn't run to the.
I feel that
steps of
Rohan
St.
and
Peter.
Rich is getting a bit of a free pass here. Any questions to those two?
Well, I do. One final question for Ian, and then move on to Rohan now.
Oh, good Lord.
So I've been.
You already
I've been-
asked the question to Ian.
Yeah,
so
to be
no
fair, you
Alexis.
have.
Right,
Oh,
so
okay.
ask
Question for
Richard,
Rohan.
you
Question
take
for
one.
Rohan.
Okay, so Rohan, what Transformers did you find?
This was back in 2019. I bought Siege Shockwave, Siege Ultra Magnus. I managed to get all of the deluxes except for Ironhide, which was the one I really wanted, and I couldn't find bloody Soundwave anywhere. But yeah, I came back with a pretty good haul. I remember having to actually stand on my suitcase to zip it all up.
So you stood on your Transformers?
I had to. I had no
I
choice.
don't
It was-
believe that for a second.
Seriously.
No way would
Oh,
you
you
stand
can't
on your
handle the
Transformers,
truth moment
Rohan.
there.
Oh, you were doing so well, and then you said you stood on
Yeah.
your
All right,
Transformers.
it's only chug
I-
figures. It's
see,
fine.
Again, I think it's
Better than you,
Ian that's telling-
masterpiece.
I think Ian's telling the truth. I don't want Richard's story to be true because that's just humiliating.
But it does happen.
It doesn't
To
happen
Alexis.
ever. No.
Every
All right,
week.
Who would use a tell? Oh Jesus! No. Oh. I don't
Rick-
want that story to be true. Thankfully,
Richard,
it's not
what-
Richard who done it. But yeah,
Richard, what night? I wrote this down. What night? Remind me. What night? I wrote this down. What night did this happen? First, second, or the last night?
It was the last night because I didn't want to have a bad head on the plane.
he's lying.
Right. So the scores
It's
so
Ian.
far, before you make your decision, Transformers the show are 3-1. The YouTubers are thrashing Transformers the show. So you need this
All
point.
right, calm down.
So,
That's because we're honest guys. He's a lying bastard. We're proved it now.
You know how the show works, Jamie.
it's basically who's
Bitter.
the best liar. So Jamie, from your team, who do
Ian,
you think? Ian,
Hey,
Alexis, who
Andy,
you
who do
thinking?
you think?
I'd be
Who do you
torn
think,
between
Andy?
Ian or Rich because, again, I think some of the details in Rich's story are actually quite good. But I'm gonna go Ian.
Alexis?
Yeah.
I reckon it's Rohan.
Oh.
Well, he did go to America. I'm sure he's mentioned this before, but I
And he did-
cannot
he
see
listed- he
Rohan
listed- he listed
standing
the
on
box.
a case full of Transformers.
I don't
I
listed-
know how
no,
much
but he
he looks
listed
after
a lot of
them, and the
boxes. He
boxes.
listed- There will be boxed. He listed a lot of
Because he
boxes.
can
Mine-
remember some
it's
Transformers
Rohan,
does not
it's
make it the
dogs.
truth, definitely, does it?
Jamie?
I, as I said, I think I don't want Richards to be true. I think Rohan's story is dull, and he should be banned for that. And I want it has to be fucking Ian. He has to have told the truth at least fucking once. If not, he's dead to me. So I'm good.
I was already dead to you.
Ian.
Jamie. I was
Serious
already dead
incident.
to you.
Okay, right. So we're going for Ian. So the YouTubers, can you put your hand up if you were telling the truth? Oh,
well done, Jay.
Get in there.
well done, Jamie. So that brings it to.
I'll tell you what, though,
3.
you weren't sure. You weren't sure. You could have gone either
I
way.
was sure. I said it when you first said
You
the story.
said it many times, but Alexis made you think.
Did he fuck?
Alexis,
Did he fuck?
He is my bullshit every week, isn't this?
sometimes we think, please be quiet.
And again, so
to
sorry
me,
about
Alex
the
is just
shed.
as pretty mouth gestures.
Oh, I'm
Right.
pretty sure this will have to go out with a warning.
Final
before.
part of the final round. It's all to play for. So, YouTubers, if you win this, you win the whole thing. You can only draw it now. Transformers the show, but so we need to hear your stories of on holiday, your best moments of holiday.
Right, so I'll go off with my story. Right, my story is short and sweet. Basically, I was at the Rugby World Cup in Japan, and I can't remember which city it was: Tokyo, Nagoya, Osaka, Sawari, some other strange Japanese sounding place. I can't remember, but I was very drunk, and so was Maylin, quite drunk as well. She's a good wee drinker, and basically we come back to the hotel, and the hotel is like a 5-star hotel, so it's got an all-night bakery, which is quite cool. And then Maylin decided she wanted to go to the all-night bakery, so she went to the all-night bakery, and then about 5 minutes later, I decided to follow her.
And you
Now,
can
the
what
thing
room
is-
she was in. So you were doing Morse code on every door.
No,
Shut up.
Stop it.
Basically, we went to this. I went down to sort of like go to the all-night bakery as well, and I couldn't see her, so I came back, and I went into this sort of hotel, which is quite a big room. And we went into this sort of bedroom area, which is a separate area, and then the bedroom area's got this massive walk-in cupboard, wardrobe as well. And I decided, because I was just paralytic, I'm just going to go straight to sleep. But I'm quite scared of ghosts and stuff like that. It's always I have to have a nightlight. But I couldn't work the lights in the freaking hotel room, so I ended up switching everything off, so it's like pitch black. But anyway, I decided, because I couldn't work the lights, I would just start to drift to sleep. So I started to go to sleep, but then I could hear this noise. And the noise was coming from the wardrobe. And then suddenly, like the noise was getting louder, and then the wardrobe door opened, and fucking hell, it was like girl there, long hair. So I start screaming. I mean, really screaming. And then the sort of thing moved, so I'm screaming even more, and then it goes, Jamie, and I went, it knows my name, so I'm screaming even more. And then it moves towards me, and I sort of panic, and I jump off the bed, but there's a table next to the bed, because I put my Samsung pad next to there, so I flipped on the table and crashed over, and the table went over, and then this thing's over me going, Jamie, and I'm screaming, bewitched demon, all that stuff, and it turned out it was Maylin. I was thinking to myself, what the fuck were you doing inside the freaking wardrobe? Apparently she went in there to sort some of the swimming stuff we'd been using, and she just fell asleep because she was drunk as well. And that's my short and sweet
That's
story.
a good story. Your story basically is Maylin woke you up once. Right, Alexis. Go for it, sir.
And Jamie likes night lights. We've learned that.
I'm dull.
From me.
So 2008, Sam and I went to Tenerife, and one of the things we went to a zoo, and they had dolphins there, and you could buy the dolphin experience, and one hell of a dolphin experience it was. And you weren't allowed to get in the water with them. We weren't sure why. I think we know why now. But you could you basically have photographs of them. You held the thing up so you could come up to put the nose on, and you sort of check the flipper, and you stroke their hole, sort of thing. Apparently like that. And then one bit you can. I'm not joking, right?
RSPCA are on stand.
How much did you pay for that?
You give it a hug, right? And
Oh dear me.
This is another one of his
one of the
kissing club again, is
dolphins,
it?
got
Oh,
a little bit
6:30.
No, the producer, yeah, I liked it. One of the dolphins got a little bit too friendly and
I
jumped
triggered
on
you by the sounds
Sam.
of it.
Jumped on Sam and started.
Laughing.
I would say dry humping her, but obviously they're both wet,
They're
so
not.
from the water, obviously. So went away and
Sorry.
the keeper blew whistles and stuff, and I was like, "I'm not paying extra, are we?" I was like, "Sure, this is part of the experience." I'm going. I was like, "Sam, you get my go. You get my go." That's it.
Oh dear. Right, Andy.
Sorry, I'm just recovering from that story.
I think we all are.
My story comes from about 2005. We used to go for lads' holidays, and one of the places we went a few years in a row was Benidorm because it was cheap, basically, and so were we. So we were, oh, it's so classy. It's the Blackpool of Spain. And we went, love the Blackpool, by the way. And so we went out there, group of us lads, and about midway through the holiday, I think it was the third night, we ended up on the night out, and it was quite busy. If you've been to Benidorm when it's on, like, in the season and everything, you know, it's packed, and mostly with British people there. One of my mates ended up getting in a bit of a argument with another lad, and we ended up in an argument with that group of lads because he'd spilled his drink. You know, it's the classic idiotic walk past, spilt the drink, so somebody has a go at each other. Anyway, it resulted in a bit of a scuffle. It was more handbags. Unfortunately, it was a scuffle that was done directly outside this crappy bar as Spanish police were coming by. Now, I don't know if you know what the Spanish police are like, but funnily enough, they're not quite as forgiving, arguably, as the police that we have here. And we ended up, all of us, getting pinched essentially, and we got taken to the jail, or to the prison, police station, and put into a cell. And oh god, I would have been what, 24, 25, and it was one of those things where they said to us, you have to pay a fine. Now, looking back, this may well have been extremely dodgy, because, you know, it was all, there was nothing official about it. We didn't have to sign any paperwork or anything, but we had to pay a fine to get out. And we were all, you know, we were all not skids, because we still had a couple of days of the holiday left, but we didn't have enough money to pay for what the fine they wanted us to pay and to be able to carry on the holiday. So we had to each in turn try and call our parents, and I had to ring my mum and dad and ask them to send me some more money. Because basically I didn't have enough money to be able to pay my share of this fine, and the lads were all as skint as I was. You know, we lived at that point where we were out on the piss all the time, so you weren't saving money, you weren't thinking of pension schemes and stuff like that. So basically I had to ring and ask my parents to send me some money so we could pay this fine as a group. There was 5 of us, and pay this fine as a group, so that we could get let out of not prison, but the cell at the police station. And that was the worst holidays I've ever had.
Well, Ian, so that's your choices, team YouTubers. So you had Jamie waking up, being woken up, or you had Andy Donde Yesterday jail hole, or you had Alexis fingering sea mammals.
Dolphin hole, yes.
So
There's nothing you have to bestiality as long as the animals get permission.
Can I ask a question of Paul, if I may? Just remind me, if you can, who was telling the truth in the first round for Transformers the show?
Alexis.
It was Alexis. I thought it was. Okay, thank you. That's fine. Thank you.
With his story about Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
That was it. Yes, thank you. Right. So, first question is for Alexis.
This bodes well.
Right. So, the dolphins can. Where do you?
What technique did you use?
What techniques did the dolphin use? I think is another question.
Does Sam still dream of it? No, it's not my question.
So we actually
wait your turn.
We actually have photographs of like
what?
the moments when we're sat both next to the dolphin.
Okay,
and that
so,
when we're holding
the dolphin comes up, and obviously this is a part of the. I hate to say experience. I hate to say it, but yeah, part of the experience. But there's no one around in case things get, dare I say, out of hand. Oh. You know, it was left to work to its animal desires, and
it doesn't turn them on unless people are watching.
Those kinky dolphins.
So there's the same person that controls dolphin is taking the photographs. Basically, it's like an all-in-one.
Oh, so there was a person, but they were indisposed.
After the main like sea life show, you get to go backstage, and you get there's a group of you, and you get to sit poolside.
Dolphin show after dark.
You get your encounter.
And it was a special encounter.
It was an OnlyFans encounter. Okay, that's fine. I don't think I've got any more dolphin-based questions. So, Rohan, do you have anything?
My only question is, why didn't it pick you, Alexis? Why did it pick Sam?
That's your only question.
For Alexis, I want
we
to see
need to win this.
Alexis, Rohan, that's telling.
I have no idea. I'm not a dolphin expert. I'm not going to.
I think I might know why, Alexis.
Go on.
I think he might have heard the story about the kissing and he felt sorry for him, so it was like a pity kind of thing.
Maybe Sam gave a better kiss to the dolphin than I did. I got to kiss the dolphin as well. But
are there dolphins in Magic the Gathering? Maybe it was forewarned somehow. All right, okay. No more dolphin-based questions, if we may. Andy, at what point did you think? Okay, I appreciate maybe a bit younger, maybe a bit drunkier at the time. At what point did you think, hang on, we got to give you money just because you say so? At what point did you think, hey, what's going on here?
Well, when
you got back home, presumably.
No, we were in the prison cell, so we were all having a bit of a go at each other because of the lads. It was actually Ali who actually started on this other lad because he knocked his drink over and then mouthed off at him, and he'd given it some back.
Also, it was an internal scuffle.
No. It was a lad from another group, but Ali was the member of our group that had been in it. And the thing is, you back up your mates, don't you? So we weren't.
Not with Spanish police presence, no.
Well, we didn't realise they were outside. We had been drinking since about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. In fact, it was probably earlier than that. But we'd had a lot to drink, and unfortunately, the Spanish police can be quite strict with that. So when we got into this scuffle, and it was just a scuffle, it wasn't a proper, full-blown, massive fight.
Handbags at dawn.
But for some reason, when the police came over and kind of broke it up, I don't know if somebody had mouthed off at them or whatever it was, but they cornered us away, and then basically called for their version of a frigging paddy wagon or whatever they call it to take us away. And these other blokes, they just had a word with and then let them go off. Mm-hmm. So we got taken off then to the prison cell, to the jail cell rather, in the station. And it was at that point that they said, right, well, you can do this and you'll have to go to the courts, but you won't be able to go in there till at the earliest tomorrow, and it might take a couple of days, or you can pay a fine now. And we were at that point where you're drunk, you're tired, it's the middle of the night. I'm going to admit, we were a little scared. I know I was, because I've never been in any trouble with the police in this country. So to be put into a prison cell in Spain, where you do hear, it can be a bit rough with the police can be a bit rough. We basically decided that the best thing we could do was to just pay it, but we couldn't afford it all at the time. So yeah, I had to.
So you rang your parents, and what did they say?
My mum thankfully answered the phone. If it had been my dad, he probably would have hung up. But my mum answered the phone, and I basically told them that we were just the poor victims of a terrible situation, and could they send over some money? And she did, but it wasn't until the next morning that we were able to access it and then pay it, and then
was
we
it
were able to
PayPal friends and family, or was it goods and services?
It was just sent through a bank transfer thing. We had to actually take it out of a cash point. So this is why it's dodgy. There was no paperwork involved whatsoever. You didn't sign anything, and it was only afterwards when we were all saying to each other that was probably.
Okay. So the any evidence of this is your lie? I mean your story.
Any questions for Jamie?
Guys, anything for Jamie?
No, not for Jamie. No.
Nobody gives a
massive liar.
Rich, did you have a question for Randy?
Yeah, did you have any other questions?
I did have a. Yeah, how much?
Was the fine?
I had my share of it was £200, so between 5 of us, it was £1,000 that we had to pay to get out of there.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah, trust me, I know. The worst thing was as well that for the rest of the holiday, even though we did stay on, we were really kind of scared about when we went out. We were really kind of within ourselves, so we didn't enjoy the rest of the holiday. So it was the worst holiday probably I've ever been on. Not as bad as that one Rich told us about, but it was still a really bad holiday.
But if no one's got any more questions, I'll do
one for Jamie, if that's okay.
Yeah, I was going to do a Jamie question just so he
didn't.
No. I mean, it's really just so he didn't feel left out, really.
I'll ask him a question.
I mean, Rich was just no, I've got nothing for Jamie.
Jamie, how long was Maylin in the cupboard for?
Is she still there? You have taken her out of the cupboard.
That's where she lives.
No, she came out, right?
We have to check.
She came out of the cupboard. She was the one.
Came out the closet.
Oh.
That would be the closet. Ha ha ha.
It was an R. Kelly closet. Remember that version, guys?
That video got removed by YouTube. Yeah, that was quite funny.
Anyway, so
I have no idea because we were both drunk that night, and I went straight down to the bakery. which is in the hotel for you.
So you went to the bakery and she went to the cupboard.
Well, she went to the cupboard to sort out the wash, to sort out the swimming clothes, because the hotel we in has a pool. So I was swimming every day, and we went all around Japan, and every hotel we picked a swimming pool so I could swim.
Right, I'm going to put you for an answer, YouTubers.
Okay, guys, what are we thinking? Rohan, what are you thinking first?
Okay, I think it's Jamie. I think the other two are talking absolute nonsense.
Okay, Rich, what do you reckon?
I was edging towards Andy, but I spent about 5 hours in Benidorm wearing nothing from the waist down and didn't get pulled out by the police.
Well, start with this. I want to hear that story.
You are wearing something. You are wearing something from the waist down now, right? Because 6:30, watershed.
Were you fighting though, Rich? Half naked.
I was actually dressed as a giant penis, but that's a story for another day.
And you
wasn't
never
that
saw your
story?
massive
That's
That's
the
the
one with the
show.
mini
Let's
one.
just hear this.
Here's a masterpiece penis, and this is reality.
Legends class.
Class penis.
Oh, you, Rohan.
Oh,
Oh,
dear.
that's
Oversized.
I
Let's
think
get
it's
on the
Jamie. I think it's Jamie. Joking aside, I think it's Jamie.
I was thinking Jamie almost right from the start. But Andy expanded with a fair bit of detail. I wanted to be Alexis, but it's not. But I would love it if it was.
The thing about Andy is there's too much in between us about that story.
Yeah.
I wasn't found asleep on an ant's nest, for Christ's sake.
That was the next day.
And and I don't
Actually,
know
that
as
was the
well.
fourth day, yeah.
Also, Andy ending up in the jail. Not with that.
To be honest, the biggest red flag for me was that no way was Andy 24 in 2005. No way.
I did the maths. 24 or 25.
24, 25, I think you'll find, Rich. So, I am young for my age.
Okay, we'll give you the answer. We'll go with Jamie, I believe. Final answer, Jamie.
Right, okay, so will the Transformers the Show person who was telling the truth put their hands in the air, but do it properly, don't be a dick like you did last time. Oh! Oh!
Still a dick.
No shoulders.
And then also because Jamie hadn't done a truth yet, and that was the other thing.
So I think you want that, didn't you? Five,
Yeah.
what was it?
4-2.
4-2 as well.
My God,
4-2,
you're the
4-2.
host. You're supposed to be keeping count.
We won.
There was only 6 points, for Christ's
He just hit for the
Right,
alcohol.
until Alexis started talking about fingering
My
dolphins.
story was true, apart from the humping. The finger and blow thing was true.
Fingering was
The
true.
hump-
You figured about. You figured
I
about.
think your story was the best.
you feel around the blowhole because
Why do you feel the need to go? I'm going to put my finger there.
If this
No,
female
you don't know. You don't know.
gets you
Sorry.
going, you would
You
love
feel around the
Transformers the
blowhole.
Show.
They
which we do
say
every week.
because they
Like,
Find
Share,
us
subscribe.
at
you feel the
TFUK.
power. It's like a big muscle.
Always talk about bestiality
What?
and animals. Thank you so much for Rohan and Ian and Richard for coming on tonight.
Oh,
Thank you so much to my co-host as well from Transformers the Show. It's been brilliant. I hope you enjoy the rest of Toys, Figures and Robots. It's going to be a great night ahead of us, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Aye.
Bye.